It's 1908, and the city of Vienna pulses with life, bustling with trams, people from every corner of Europe crowding its broad avenues, cafes lit with a faint golden glow as artists and revolutionaries argue into the small hours. But among the throng is one young man, gaunt, blue-eyed, carrying a battered portfolio. Adolf Hitler, just 19, newly arrived from Linz, with dreams as grand as the city's gilded opera houses. What history has written in blood and horror began not with armies and speeches, but with a solitary figure, restless and uncertain, lost in a city that seemed both magnificent and indifferent. Adolf grew up in Braunau am Inn, a small Austrian border town, the son of Alois, strict, conservative, and Clara, gentle and beset by illness. Adolf idolized his mother, but clashed with his father, whose authoritarian streak sowed early seeds of resentment and rebellion. Even as a teenager, Hitler fixated on Germany, though not yet part of the nation itself. He longed for its language, its supposed purity, its myths. But his heart, he reckoned, belonged to art, and Vienna glittered as the hopeful beacon of that dream. Vienna, then, was the capital of a tottering, multicultural empire. Slavs, Jews, Hungarians, Czechs, Italians, Poles, a cosmopolitan patchwork united under the Habsburgs' faded grandeur. But for all its outward charm, beneath Vienna's surface were currents of anxiety and exclusion, brooding over the empire's future and who among its people truly belonged. Confident, perhaps desperately so, young Hitler submitted his application to the prestigious Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. Twice he tried, twice he failed. The rejection stung. Examiners told him his human figures were wooden, his technique lacking vitality. What remained were architectural sketches, cold and precise, but devoid of life. Still, the young man couldn't, or wouldn't, see his own limits. Resentment simmered, catalyzed by a sense that others had denied him his destiny. Cut loose from his meager inheritance after his mother's death, Hitler found himself on the edge of survival. The grand city became a labyrinth of survival. He slept in men's hostels, huddled on freezing winter nights, sold hand-painted postcard cards for coin. The grandeur of Vienna blurred into hunger, deprivation, and daily indignity. At night, he haunted coffee houses, libraries, and lecture halls, reading voraciously, chasing a sense of significance denied to him by the world. In these difficult years, Vienna's tolerance was genuine, but so too was its prejudice. As Hitler searched for footholds, the city churned with new nationalist movements and virulent anti-Semitism. Pamphlets abounded. Demagogues railed against Jews, liberals, immigrants. Among the most influential was Karl Lueger, Vienna's mayor, whose blend of modern politics and casual hatred created a dangerous precedent. Hitler later claimed to have been radicalized in these years, writing in Mein Kampf of his supposed revulsion at the city's Jews. Yet the reality, historians note, was more complex. He worked and sold art to Jews, even lived alongside them. His anti-Semitism, at least at first, was part of a broader desperation, a search for explanation, someone or something to blame for his own failures. Yet the exposure to hateful ideas was constant. Anger, humiliation, and lack of control became the soil in which those seeds took root. Cut off from meaningful purpose, obsessed with Wagner's operas, which mythologized German history, Hitler's inner world became one of embattlement, a fantasy of destiny forged through suffering. He started to believe he was denied success, not by circumstance, but by hidden conspiracies, indulgently confirming his growing paranoia. By 1913, Hitler's descent into obscurity was nearly complete. Drafted for military service by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, he dodged the call, living instead on the margins of society. Eventually, he fled to Munich, seeking a new beginning. Not for love of Germany, at least not yet, but for escape. Here, on the eve of the First World War, the failed artist was anonymous, friendless, a man who belonged nowhere. Yet war transformed him. When conflict erupted in 1914, Hitler enlisted in the German army. Some say he saw war as a kind of deliverance, a crucible to redeem his wasted life. He served as a dispatch runner on the front lines, surviving the carnage, wounded twice, even temporarily blinded by mustard gas. The unimaginable chaos and destruction did not break him. Rather, it became the proving ground for the fantasies forged during those desperate Vienna years. He returned to Germany bitter, more convinced than ever of his unique mission. The defeat of Germany shattered millions. For Hitler, it was a personal apocalypse. At night, in army barracks and after-war hostels, now crowded with embittered veterans, radical pamphlets, and conspiracy theories circulated. Germany's defeat was blamed not on military failure, but on betrayal from within, by Jews, Marxists, and politicians. Hitler, influenced by his Vienna past, swallowed these lies wholeheartedly. Out of resentment and alienation, he found belonging for the first time. In 1919, he attended a meeting of the German Workers' Party, a fringe group with hardline rhetoric, disdained by mainstream society, but alive with anger and bitterness. The misfit from Vienna found a voice. His talent for oratory, formed in the endless coffeehouse arguments, now electrified small crowds. His Vienna years had taught him how to channel outsider rage into political performance. First as a mimic, then as a prophet of hate. The transformation was complete, if invisible to all but the closest observers. No longer the failed artist or anonymous drifter, Hitler emerged from those years armored with a suit of imagined grievances, armed with a rhetoric that elevated personal despair into political purpose. It was in Vienna, amidst poverty, failure, and urban tumult, that the worst Adolf Hitler began to coalesce. Not the infamous dictator of headlines, but a man whose resentments and obsessions would infect a continent. The tragedy is not that he changed, it's that the world was unprepared for what he would become. It's tempting to believe monsters are born, not made, that history's darkest figures sprang fully formed from the void. But the story of Adolf Hitler's Vienna years warns us otherwise. The future architect of catastrophe was forged in mundane humiliation, shaped by poverty and loneliness, seduced by the toxic allure of scapegoats and easy answers. That is the shadow lurking in the untold story. Not just what Hitler did, but what he was allowed to become. To understand those origins is to confront an uncomfortable truth, not just about one man, but about us all. History's shadows do not vanish. They linger, waiting for those who will look beyond the obvious. In the wan light of Vienna's streets, we see not only the making of a monster, but a warning echoing down the corridors of time. The Vienna that failed Adolf Hitler did not create his hatred, but neither did it heal it. If anything, it taught him how dangerous loneliness, resentment, and unchecked lies can be in a world too eager for someone to blame. Keep questioning the past. Its lessons are rarely easy, but always necessary.